model using the LPC scale overlaying the four quadrants of the effective and the four quadrants of the ineffective leadership behavior. As you can see here, there are three components. The first one being the leader-subordinate relationship. We're going to look at that first off under relationship and continue on building the model. And in the middle here, here's your four quadrants. Just from the same thing on the situational leadership model, you'll see a lower right-hand side, lower relationship, high task. Upper right-hand side, high relationship, high task. Upper left-hand side, high relationship, low task. And on the lower left, low relationship and low task. This is the underpinnings of the situational leadership model that we've been studying all along. So as we go ahead, we're going to talk about effective styles, and what you see here on the LPC scale over on the left-hand side are some of the indicators of favorable, medium, and unfavorable opportunities for the leader to have relationships with the people they're leading. So here are the narratives that was provided by Fielder for us in the previous slide, showing what the low and high relationship, low and high task indicators are as seen by the individuals that are being led, by the leaders' co-workers, and by the leaders' supervisors. So you'll see up there as an example on low relationship, high task, one of the key indicators or the observations, if you will, is the leader is seen as having well-defined methods of accomplishing goals that are helpful to the follower. Now, what we're going to do here in this slide, we're going to take the effective styles and ineffective styles, and we're going to look for words that describe the activities or the attitudes or the effectiveness or ineffectiveness that a leader has with regard to a relationship. So here again, you see this diagram once before. In the middle is kind of a null set of activities, but the effective styles are up in the upper right-hand side. The ineffective is on the lower left-hand side. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the ineffective and effective activities, and we're going to look for words in this tridimensional leadership effectiveness model. So right now, just to remind you, now there are three components of this. This one is the relationship. In the other one, and the next on the ones that are going to follow, you're going to find out that we're going to see a power base. We haven't talked about this a lot, but I'm going to refresh your memory on it. And then there's a structure. So this, we're talking about relationship. And what I want you to do is to look for the words that describe the relationship. Now, I'll give you a few minutes to kind of look through here on each of these particular areas. Now, remember that these four quadrants, we had underlaying this, we have the follower's ability, as both in skill and emotion, to mature across a curriculum that leads them through this particular hierarchy. So let's look at these descriptions, if you will. And if you notice here, we're going down here, we see one that the leader is helpful on the lower right-hand quadrant. They are setting goals. They are organizing work. They have socio-emotional support. Now, I want to talk to you briefly about what this means, because we'll see it in each of these areas. The definition of socio-emotional support is that it is an intentional, verbal, and nonverbal way to show care and affection for one another. By providing emotional support to another person, you offer them reassurance, acceptance, encouragement, and caring, making them feel valued and important. Now, we've kind of discussed some of these types of things in both the four-chair and the disciple shift models. Certainly, all of these particular activities or responses to the people you are trying to make disciples are absolutely important. Also, they're going to find out that they're looking over here is that they're looking for someone that they trust, that they're facilitating, and that they are concerned about the individual they are leading, and they also have an appropriate amount of delegation to go along with it. We're going to go down to the ineffective styles, and we'll go ahead and look at the lower right hand side, and you'll find that sometimes they feel like they're imposing methods and techniques that are not necessarily in line with where the people feel that they're comfortable with. Sometimes the person or the leader that's in this particular quadrant and is ineffective is not genuine or doesn't give the appearance of being genuine. Uh, Otherwise, they as they go up the hierarchy, you'll see that sometimes that they are so bent on success that they will actually uh, over they will overskip things just to make sure that everybody is in harmony. Here's the social emotional support. You'll see here that there's little social emotional support in an ineffective leader, and they are concerned about maintaining the good image. Sometimes they're unpleasant when they are trying to facilitate the things going on, and they look at them as not being genuine. So these are the key words that describe both the effective and ineffective leadership in a relationship. The next slide that we're going to look at, we're going to look at the power. Moving on to the next slide here, you're going to see a tri-dimensional leadership effective and ineffective model, but we're going to focus here on the power bases that the individual has. So we're going to build this diagram once again with the effective and ineffective styles. And this time to remind you that you have from relationship to the power base. Now, so here again we want to look for key words about what represents the power based on this particular slide. So the first one here is certainly persuasive, and we've had this one, we've defined that once before. They have some connection power involved in this in these quadrants. They have reward power. They have legitimate power. They have referent power, information power, and then expert power. Now, we talked all about these in the situational leadership model up to this particular point, but there's one that we didn't talk much about, and that was what's called coercive power. Now, this is, most folks are unhappy about looking at this, but basically, to give you a definition, coercive power is based on fear. May lead to punishment such as undesirable work assignments, reprimands, and dismissal. Now, does this remind you of the Old Testament at all? It seems like the Jewish people went through a whole lot of reprimands and dismissal and different assignments, such as being captured and moved off. And it's nonetheless any different in the New Testament as well. So now we're going to look for the power-based words that we need to look at. Here again on the lower right-hand quadrant, we see that the individual is helpful. Meaning he's probably persuasive. He or she sets goals, which is part of the reward and connection power. It organizes the work. Has social emotional support. They trust that particular individual on the power based. They are facilitating. The leader is concerned about what the followers are going through and how to help them, and certainly they delegate in the appropriate way. Now, each of these particular power bases will, in fact, settle on one of these particular types of things that a person in a hierarchy or a position of power can be helpful, can set goals, can organize the work, can be provide social emotional support, can be trusted, can see as they're facilitating the success of this, that they show genuine concern, and that they delegate appropriately. On the other hand, in ineffective style, regardless of the type of power that they have, they can be seen as imposing, that they're not genuine. Individual is interested only in harmony, don't rock the boat. They provide little social emotional support based on the power that they have. They may have the power based and not do it. Uh, they want to maintain their good image, and many times they seem to be unpleasant and unwilling. On this next slide, we're going to look at the structure of what's going on. We're going to rebuild this model like you've seen before. This is nothing new. But this time we're going to look at structure. Here again, you have a relationship that we discovered or reviewed in the first slide. The second slide talked about the power capabilities, and then structure is what we're going to be looking at this point in time. Now, so in looking at these definitions of effective and ineffective styles, let's look for some words that describe the structure or the activities, if you will, that are being done. Uh, in the first one here, it looks like a well-defined methods would certainly be an effective way to do it. That the individual leader is going to set goals for the group that they're leading. They're going to organize the work. They're going to facilitate whatever it is necessary for them to be successful. They're going to delegate appropriately. Now you'll see here that these are all things that you would expect for going into any organization. Now we want to look at this in the perspective of disciples creating disciples. As they enter into the lower quadrant, we should have a well-defined methods and techniques, and we have a workbook that we're going to study or look through after these series of slides so that we can understand what are the methods and the process necessary to move a particular non-believer into becoming a disciple of Christ. In there, you're going to be seeing some defined methods. You're going to see about setting goals, how to organize your work, how to facilitate this, like in small groups and one-on-one discipling, and then how to delegate and move them along. An ineffective way of using structure is that as they enter into the organization, the methodologies that they present may seem to be a little imposing to the person who doesn't understand where they are and where they're going to be going. In addition to that, the individual leading the group may have a short run or an output type attitude where all they're interested in is numbers. Finally, sometimes in organizing the work, they overmanage or they create more structure than is necessary, particularly when you think about that every individual that is discipled has their own story, their own way of becoming discipled, their own gifts, and so forth. So the leader of a disciple leadership adventure here has to be pretty flexible and understand that one structure doesn't necessarily meet all the things that's necessary to go on. And into that, sometimes the person is unwilling to accomplish tasks. Now, this is kind of interesting that if you get set into a particular structure or curriculum, if you will, there are times when people are unwilling to get out of the box or look at different ways of accomplishing things. We need to look at the Holy Spirit and how He's moving the particular process between the leader and the follower or the new disciple and make some informed and thoughtful and right decisions about how an individual is going to become a disciple. And then finally, sometimes it doesn't seem like there's any structure at all. It's just willy-nilly, and I have no idea where I'm at and where I'm going and how I got here.